Good evening. This is Making the Case. I'm Yodit Tewolde. Wednesday marks 2 years since Ahmaud Arbery was murdered while jogging in a South Georgia neighborhood. Today, jurors began deliberations in the federal hate crimes trial for the 3 white men already convicted in state court of Ahmaud's murder. With race at the center of this trial, the jury will decide whether federal prosecutors have proven their case by showing that Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, and William Bryan targeted Ahmaud because he was black. Jurors heard about 5 hours of closing arguments today before getting their instructions and retiring to the deliberation room for a few hours. They broke at dinner time and will return tomorrow. This trial took a lot of what we heard in the state case, but focused on the issue of race as one of the reasons why Ahmaud was killed. Tonight, my legal experts are here to talk closing arguments and whether the government met their burden of proof. We've got veteran prosecutor and BNC legal contributor Paul Henderson, along with criminal defense attorney and private investigator Karen Felecia Nance. Good to see you both tonight. Let's start with the 5 federal charges all 3 defendants are facing, okay? They're accused of using force and threats of force to intimidate and interfere with Ahmaud's right to use a public street because of his race. These make up 2 of the hate crime charges. The 3rd count charges them with attempted kidnapping for cutting Ahmaud off with their trucks and trying to close him in. And the 4th and 5th charges concern firearms, which apply only to Travis and Gregory McMichael. Paul, the charges hardest to prove here are the hate crime allegations. Will evidence of the defendants making racist comments prior to Ahmaud's murder be enough for the prosecution to prove their case?
Well, by itself, it seems like it would not be enough, but we have to look at the totality of the circumstances. And listen, I've handled plenty of hate crimes while I was a prosecutor in my day to know you need more than that. And the totality of circumstances in this case is a lot of evidence. If you look at the behavior, if you look at what they said to each other, if you look at how they acted collectively in a coordinated fashion to target specifically Ahmaud, you have to contemplate, and it brings up the issue of race. And so that by itself might not be enough, but if you look at how they behaved and what they did, how he was treated, what they said before, during, and after in association with their behavior and the murder, I think it's a clear case. But that really is the hurdle that prosecution has to show to present to this jury to get them to understand that the behavior was motivated, at least in part, by race, being the protected class to justify the hate crime allegations.
Karen, your thoughts, please.
I agree with Paul. I believe that there's plenty evidence that's been presented. We have actually the social media posts, which were part of the information that we obtained, the Facebook and the other posts describing interactions in their text messages as well with Gregory McMichael and his friends, as well as Travis, that indicated his feelings and beliefs about Black people. So I believe that there's clearly enough evidence to establish what's needed in the federal case as well.
All right, let's talk about those closing arguments, shall we? Starting with the prosecution. Paul, just give me your thoughts on the strongest points made from the prosecution.
To me, the strongest points are the things that I had expected and that we talked about at the beginning of the case when you and I both said that this is a case that's going to have to focus on race. They're going to raise the issue of race as many times as they can to remind this jury not so much what the defendants did, because that's been clear. They've already been convicted of murder. We know what they did, but to focus on why they did what they did and keep bringing up race in the way that they did it. One of the things that I thought prosecution didn't have as much of an advantage from in this case, from the last case, was the defense attorneys themselves brought up race so often, and it was easy to connect the dots based on what the attorneys were saying, trying to testify on behalf of their clients. And in this trial, they didn't do that, but they almost didn't have to because of what we saw on the video and because of what we learned in social media and their statements before this incident took place, and then immediately after this incident took place, what they were saying and how they behaved. And so to me, I feel like the prosecution did a decent job, a good job, and as expected, really focused on race because it's the intangible, the subjective interpretation that has to be found in order to get to a guilt for the hate crimes. So I think they did a pretty good job.
Karen, what about your thoughts on the prosecution's most effective points?
I believe that the prosecution was very effective. And when we look at what the defense was able to put forward, which wasn't much at all, because only with regard to Greg McMichael did they put forth a witness, and she wasn't that credible in terms of disputing the fact that there was race was the motivator. We didn't hear from Travis in terms of putting forth any witnesses, or Roddie Bryan. And so I think that just is very telling in that we don't have they don't have a leg to stand on, because all of the actions, all of the evidence that had been presented at the state case shows that they acted with race in mind. And I think that the fact that they didn't put forth viable evidence is clear that they have a weak case from the defense perspective.
Well, I think it would have been suicide had the defendants tried to take the stand, especially with those text messages and social media posts. All right, so what about the prosecution showing the difference in how the defendants acted towards Ahmaud and others in the neighborhood, including the neighbor who called a non-emergency police line after seeing him at the construction site? Unlike the defendants, he didn't chase Ahmaud. Paul, how does this distinction strengthen the government's case that this was indeed about race?
Well, it shows what somebody else would have done that wasn't motivated by race. And it also shows what that outcome could have been had someone acted reasonably, that Ahmaud Arbery would not be shot dead in the street, that Ahmaud Arbery may have received some medical attention, because that didn't happen either. There are all these things that could have happened, and contrasting what the interaction and behavior was from other people, other folks that are not the defendants, really highlights the action and the terrible judgment and terrible actions of the defendants. That's exactly why they wanted to present that, to talk about what other people had done, to show not just that their behavior was unreasonable, but their behavior was unreasonable and racist, that it was unreasonable and motivated by race to act inappropriately to murder Ahmaud Arbery. That was a really powerful moment to showcase how the person, and even the individual that owned the house, how he reacted when this was happening, and as these other incidents had happened in the past. Nobody got in their gun and went chasing someone through the neighborhood, targeting specifically a person of color. And so that's the distinction, and that's why it makes a difference.
Well, the prosecution also zeroed in on William Bryan, who was the only one who received a sentence of life in prison with the possibility of parole. Now, in closing arguments, the prosecution said that Bryan should be the easiest to find guilty because he didn't know anything about Ahmaud before he started chasing him. They say he assumed that the black man was the bad guy and the McMichaels were the good guys. Karen, will it be easier to convict Bryan of these hate crimes, whose attorney argued that his client would have helped in the pursuit of Ahmaud regardless of his race?
I believe that it will be easier to convict Bryan because he doesn't have any external knowledge that the father and the son, the McMichaels, had. So we have a situation where what is his motivation to follow this person that he has no information about, and it has to only be the only possible explanation, the only plausible explanation is because he was a black man running through the neighborhood. And so that, I think, it should be easier in this particular case. With the state case, we had other factors, which is probably why we came back with life with the possibility of parole. But I believe that it's stronger with regard to race in the federal case.
Paul, what about your thoughts? I mean, I can see a juror saying, well, I mean, listen, of the three individuals at play here, that being Travis and Gregory McMichael and Ahmaud Arbery, that William Bryan knew or was familiar with the McMichaels. So, of course, seeing them pursuing somebody, he's just automatically going to trust that they're doing so for a good reason. What about that argument?
Oh, hell no, is my response from that. And that actually is the part where I thought was a misstep from prosecution. I wanted them to drill down on that to make absolutely certain that they understood there was no reason for him to jump out there and to behave in the way that he did, but for his own racist motivation. And here's why. I would have marginalized the other people. They've already been convicted. We already know what happened. These are murderers. I would have referenced them as good old boys that he just jumped in with to attack and corner and kill this black man that he saw in his neighborhood. And by the way, that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. And even if he just wasn't sure of what was going on, he knew he shouldn't have been with them in the truck while they were trying to corner him and run him down to get him blocked off and to confront him. And even if that wasn't enough to make him uncomfortable, they exacerbated those interactions with the weapons, and not just flashing the weapons, they actually shot and killed him. And so to me, there is absolutely no reason that he should not be found culpable of the hate crime, because there's no other reason for him to engage in that behavior that continued to escalate while he participated in it. And his participation inflated and conflated the confrontation, because now it's a larger group of him acting with them in conjunction with their bad behavior, causing ultimately this death. And so, no, you do not get a pass. And yes, I do believe you are racist. And I wanted the prosecution to drill down on that a little bit more to make sure that there is no wiggle room for him for participating in this bad behavior. And again, I just feel like had he jumped out there to participate with them and saw that they were chasing a woman or someone that was white, I don't believe that he would have participated as much as he did. But because it was someone that was black, because it was someone that he felt didn't belong in his neighborhood, and because he felt justified in confronting them in that way in a truck with these two other men that looked like him, he was fine and he went along with it. That adoptive admission and adoptive behavior, which resulted in the murder, he is just as culpable for participating in. And I am not sympathetic, but I want to make sure that the jury understands that the way that I do. And I did want prosecution to focus on that a little bit more to make sure that there's no backdoor and any chance of him walking away from accountability for this.
Okay, so in light of all of that, I have less than a minute left. Do you believe that the prosecution connected the dots? They presented evidence that these three individuals were racist, but did they prove that that racism is what led to Ahmaud's death? Karen, yes or no?
Yes, I believe that yes, definitely. I believe that they did. And they put forth enough evidence to convince a jury. And I'm hoping that the jury will come back with a just decision. Definitely.
Paul, you say the prosecution should have done more, but did they actually prove at the end of the day their case?
I think they did. I just get nervous, and I always just want to say it myself and say a little bit more. And so I'm hoping that was enough. It certainly connected all of the dots. I've been burned in the past watching these cases, and I get nervous and frustrated if I don't put it all out there. And so I always want to say just a little bit more, but I believe that they made their case. They should have made their case. This jury should come back with a guilty verdict.
Well, we're definitely going to be keeping an eye for that verdict.